Hi everyone, I'm Grayson, the head of product with PERRL, and today we're going to be taking a closer look at the new PERRL for Word add-in and everything you're going to need to know to successfully transition to it from our desktop legacy applications. Now, before we start, I'd like to emphasize one thing. Even though this change can be pretty intimidating, we are here to help. And we want to make sure that you succeed using our new add-in. Now, we've got lots of great material in our Help Center that we're going to link to in the description below this video, but our support team is also available every day until 10 p.m. Central Time. So if you get stuck, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We genuinely want to make sure that you succeed at writing papers. All right, in this video today, we're going to cover a few things. First, we're going to cover a few of the questions that pertain specifically to transitioning to the new add-in. Next, we'll look at how to install and create new papers using the add-in. Then I'm going to show you how easy it is to create references and citations, and I'm going to point out some of the other great features that we've added. Last, we're going to create a clean copy of our paper that's ready to turn in to our professor. So if you're ready, let's get started. The first question we often get is, why are we changing PERRL for Word? Well, in essence, the code that we use to communicate with Word is no longer supported by Microsoft or Apple, and it's starting to cause problems for the legacy PERRL for Word application that's not running correctly. And unfortunately, even the tools we use to update the legacy application have also been retired. That's why we can't fix it, and we haven't been able to add the new formats to it, like the APA 7th edition or the recently released MLA 9th edition. But by switching to the new add-in, we're able to add these new formats and include a number of new features that we've been dreaming about for years. Second question we often get is, what happens to all my existing PERRL papers? Well, don't worry. All the papers that you've created with PERRL for Word in the past are still available on your computer, usually saved in the My PERRL Papers folder in My Documents. They're all still there, just like you left them as Word files. One more question we get is, do I need to update my old papers to the new add-in? And unless you're still working on one of your papers, you don't need to do anything with all of your older PERRL for Word papers. You only need to convert one of your existing papers to the new add-in format if you're actively working on that paper and you're not going to be turning it in before August 1st, 2021. If you are working on a paper through August 2021, we're going to include some really helpful instructions in the description of this video on how you can convert that paper from the legacy PERRL for Word application to the new add-in format. It's really pretty simple. For all of our users though, we absolutely recommend that you start your very next paper with the new PERRL add-in because the legacy PERRL for Word application is going to be sunset in August 2021 and will no longer work. So with that, let's check out how the PERRL for Word add-in works. The new PERRL add-in requires Microsoft Word 2016 or 2019 to work, and we recommend Word 2019 for it to work most effectively. If you don't have one of those versions of Word, you can get a new copy or the latest version of Word through Microsoft Office's 365 Education program. We're going to include a link to that program down below in the description to help you get started. All right, once you've got Microsoft Word, the first thing that we're going to do to get set up with the new add-in is we're going to open up Word. So I'm opening up Word on my computer, and it's going to start with a new blank Word document. Once I'm inside my Word document, I'm going to come over to the Insert tab inside of Word, and then towards the middle, I'm going to click Get Add-ins. Now, if you have a slightly smaller screen, it may just say Add-ins, and you have to click the drop down and then click Get Add-ins. Either way, we're going to go to the add-in store in the middle of the Insert tab. This is a lot like the App Store on your phone. So if you've ever installed an app on your phone, this is going to be pretty easy. So here we can see the store, and in the search bar, we're going to type PERRL and press Enter on our keyboard. PERRL will show up in the results, and we're going to click Add right beside it, and then we're going to click Continue. That's it. We've installed the PERRL add-in. There's no downloads, there's no virus warnings, it's just super simple. Now we can see that PERRL has been added to Microsoft Word, and we've got this wonderful little pop-up telling us that we succeeded. If you do have trouble while trying to install the PERRL add-in and you run into an individual acquisition error, the university or organization you're getting your Word through may be limiting your access to add-ins. But the solution is simple. All you have to do is log out of Microsoft Word and then reinstall the PERRL add-in. We're going to include some more detailed instructions on how to do that along with the video in the description for this video below. But now that we have PERRL installed, we're going to click Got It, and we're going to go to the PERRL Ribbon tab. Now, unlike the legacy PERRL for Word application, there is no desktop application for the new PERRL add-in. Everything lives inside of Microsoft Word, inside of the PERRL Ribbon tab. This is where all of our features and tools are going to be found and how you can interact with PERRL inside of Word. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to create a new paper. And we're doing that with this very first icon that says Create New Paper. I'm going to click it, and then I have a drop-down menu where I can choose the kind of paper I want to create. We can create research papers, discussion posts, reference lists, and annotated bibliographies. And each of those are going to have a slightly different format based on what the formats require. Other includes links to how to convert an existing PERRL paper or how to convert one of your normal papers into a PERRL paper in case you need. We're going to go with the classic, basic research paper though. So I'm going to click Research Paper from the Create New Paper dropdown. This is going to open up the second part of the PERRL add-in, which is the side panel. The side panel and the ribbon bar itself are the two major components and the ways that we interact with PERRL inside of Word. To create our paper, we're going to fill in the information. Now, only the title is required, but you can fill in as much information as you need for the paper that you're working on. In the APA 7th edition, there are two different types of research papers that we can create. We can create a student research paper, which is for creating a paper for school, or a professional research paper. These are meant when you're writing an article that's going to be submitted to a peer-reviewed journal. So unless you're writing for a journal, we're going to go with student probably 99% of the time. And that's what we're going to be going with today. So we've chosen the APA 7th edition as our format, and we're going to put in Sasquatch, the truth revealed. We usually like to write about Sasquatch here at PERRL. I've also included the author by default, which is Serena Sparkles, our wonderful mascot, our institution. We can also enter in our course number and name, our instructor, Dr. Nixon, and we're going to choose a due date of the end of the month here on the 30th. Now, the APA 7th edition does not require a running head. However, if you need to add one, you can click Add Running Head here. Once we've filled in our information, we're going to click Create Research Paper. PERRL is going to do a little bit of magic, and it's going to create our research paper in a brand new Word document that's going to have all the formatting, styling, spacing, and default everything set up for the APA 7th edition. So we have the first page of our paper, we've got our title page, the running head the header is set up correctly without the running head for the 7th edition. And we're ready to start typing. Now, the new add-in does open this inside of a new Word document. So we still have our original Word document open in the background. The reason it does this is because we're stripping out all of the superfluous or erroneous styles that Microsoft Word includes by default. So I'm going to go ahead and close this second original document. We don't need it. We only need our new PERRL document right here. Perfect. All right, so let's scroll down to the first title page and let's do the first, biggest, most important thing, which is let's start working on our paper. So we're going to come to the PERRL Ribbon tab so we can access all of our PERRL tools. And through a bit of word magic, I'm going to enter in a little bit of default text for us so we can work with it. So we'll pretend that we wrote this and it's not some mumbo jumbo that Word has put in on our behalf. So what's the number one thing that we're going to do with our paper? Create references and citations. And to do that inside of the add-in, we're going to open up the References and Citations panel by clicking References and Citations in the PERRL Ribbon tab. Here we can see the panel over on the right where we can create new references, add existing references to our library, or we can navigate to any of the other panels available inside of PERRL. We're going to create a new reference though first, and this is where we're going to be able to see the first really amazing update for the add-in. And that's the ability to search for books, journal articles, and websites based on their DOI, ISBN, or URL. So I've got a journal article that I'm going to want to create, and it's right here. I've got a DOI for it. I'm going to copy this DOI. I'm going to come over here and I'm going just to paste that into the search field here. So a DOI is usually going to start off with 10 point something. So I can include the full URL or I can include just the number. I'm going to put that in and I'm going to click search. PERRL is going to go out and it's going to search a couple of different databases to try to find that article. And what do you know? It found it right here and it automatically pulled back and filled in any of the publication information that we had available from the publisher. So you can see we already have an author filled in. We've got an article title of Sasquatch, the journal name, Psychological Perspectives, a publication year, volume and issue number, page numbers, and then there's our DOI right at the bottom. PERRL did all of this automatically because we had a DOI or an ISBN to look for. At the very bottom, we have a live preview where we can see what our reference is going to look like. So in case there's anything that looks a little bit off or that we may want to change, we could do that before we exit the editing stage. This looks perfect though, so I'm going to click Next. Here I could add some optional content, giving my reference a nickname, a description, or adding some tags to it. We're not going to do that. We're just going to click Create and move on. PERRL is going to take and create our new reference page at the end of the document, and it's going to automatically add our reference for us, and then that reference is going to be listed inside the References and Citations panel. That's it. That's how you create a reference, and the new third-party lookup feature where you can search for references by ISBN, DOI, URL, or author and title makes this process easier than ever. And this is something that was never possible inside the legacy PERRL for Word application. It's one of the many things that makes us super excited about the add-in, because you can spend even less time worrying about your formatting and more time focused on writing a good paper. But let's say that you're going for a reference that doesn't have a DOI, ISBN, or URL. So it's not a book, journal, article, or website. Well, you can still manually create any of the other reference types that you've always been able to create inside the APA 7th edition or MLA by coming to the All Types tab inside the Reference Wizard. You have everything from legal works to software to websites and grants and gray literature. It's all here. And just like before, you can take and you can click any of them and you're going to be shown the reference form. Now, unlike the legacy application, you're going to notice this is all on a single page. There's not boxes to jump through. There's not small text. It looks much better. It's a lot easier to work with. And all you have to do is fill in the information that you want or that you can find, and PERRL is going to generate a perfectly formatted reference for you. Now, let's take and add one of the previous references that we've made with PERRL before. So just like in the legacy application and in PERRL Online, PERRL syncs all of your references to the cloud so that you can access them from any computer. Now, inside the legacy application, this was a feature that got added in one of the later versions. So you need to make sure that you've turned on reference syncing inside of your application. And we're going to include a link in the description on how you can make sure that your references are syncing from your legacy application to our servers so they're available inside the new add-in. But once you have that, you can add any of those references to your paper by clicking Add Reference from Library. So I'm going to click that, and you can see I've got all the references that I've made before inside of here. And I'm going to take and I'm going to add this reference right here by R.J. Bellamy, Biologically Threatened Environments. I'm going to click Add to Paper. PERRL is going to think for a second, and then it's going to add that reference right here into the reference section in the proper spot. Let's take and let's actually add two more. We're going to add this Born paper right here. You can see it's placing it in the correct spot inside of our reference section. And then one more super cool thing here that was never possible in the legacy application. We're going to add another work by R.J. Bellamy that's actually from the same year. Now, if you're up on your APA, you know that these are going to have similar looking citations, and so they need to be differentiated by appending an A and a B to the year inside of the reference and inside their citations. In the legacy PERRL Forward application, you would have had to do that manually, but inside the add-in, we're going to be able to check that out and do it for you automatically without you having to think or do anything. So you can see the original reference that we had has had an A appended to it, and the new reference that was added has had a B appended to the publication year, so that we're able to distinguish between citations for both of them, and PERRL handled it seamlessly. So that's it. That's adding references to our paper. It's super simple and really straightforward. Well, what's the other part of references? Citations. So let's talk about adding a citation to our paper. Let's come up here to this very first paragraph, and let's say, for example, we have a quote right here, and then we need to add a citation to the end of it. Well, all we're going to do is we're going to come to the reference that we want to cite. You know what, let's cite this second Bellamy work. The FBI once helped in the hunt for Bigfoot. We're going to place our cursor where we want the citation to appear on our text. Then we're going to click Add Citation beneath that reference. This is going to allow us to format our citation. Just like before, we can insert a page number, page 43, but in the new add-in, we're able to customize our citation. So we can leave out the contributor's name if it's already in the sentence, or we could leave out the date if the date is in the sentence, or leave out the location. We're going to leave out none of these things because we don't have them inside of our sentence. So we're just going to have our page number, and then we're going to click Create. Just like that, PERRL is going to create a perfectly formatted citation, just like always, right in our paper, right where our cursor was. Now we'll also see that citation listed underneath the reference in the sidebar. All right, time for another super cool feature that PERRL's add-in has that the legacy application could only dream of. Let's say that this quote actually came from both R.J. Bellamy's book and Mike Tuggle's book on Sasquatch. So we need to cite both references for a single sentence. In the legacy application, you would have had to create both citations and then manually edit them together. However, inside of the add-in, PERRL is going to handle it for you. We're going to take and we're going to place our citation, our cursor, just inside the citation that we want to add a second citation to. So we're going to place it inside of the Bellamy citation. Now I'm going to come and I'm going to add a new citation for Mike Tuggle's book, Sasquatch. I'm going to put a page number, 12, and I'm going to click Create. Now PERRL is going to take and automatically join those two citations together with the semicolon, and it's going to make sure that all the citations that are incorporated in there are put in the correct order. So in APA, that means that they're in alphabetical order. So although we added Bellamy and then Tuggle, if we added Tuggle first and then Bellamy, PERRL would still give us a properly formatted citation. And that citation is going to be listed properly underneath Mike Tuggle here or underneath R.J. Bellamy in the side panel. That's adding citations. It's really, really cool and simple. Now, you may be thinking, Grayson, what the heck is that blue box around that citation? I've never seen anything like that before in the legacy application. And you're right. This is something new inside of the add-in, and it's called a content control. This is how Microsoft Word allows us to keep track of all the PERRL elements inside of your paper. So things like citations, references, and elements on the title page are all inside of content controls in your paper, and they have this blue box that shows up around them. Well, what does that mean? It means that this is protected text. It has to be formatted in a very specific way for the APA, and we're going to protect that text to keep you from accidentally changing it or unformatting it correctly and losing points. So for instance, if I have my cursor inside of this citation and I try to type, you're going to notice that that text is protected and I can't type inside of it. Now, why are we covering all this? Because citations and content controls are, we like to say, greedy. They like to suck up the space next to them. So let's say in this sentence, I didn't have that period at the end of the sentence before I created my citation. I created my citation and now I need to add a final punctuation. When I go to place my cursor beside that citation, because that content control is greedy, it wants to think that the cursor is inside of the content control rather than beside it. So when I see that blue box, if I try to type my period, I can't. But the solution is super, super simple. All I'm going to do is press the right arrow key on my keyboard once, and it moves the cursor from inside the content control to outside the content control. So now I can type my period and I can keep typing just like normal. So there's two simple solutions here. Either one, place your final punctuation before you create your citation, or two, when placing your cursor beside a content control, use the right or left arrow keys to move the cursor outside so you don't see that blue box any longer. Well, that's it. That's references and citations. There's tons of cool stuff that you can do here, but that's what you need to do to get by with the paper. You're going to create new references using the References and Citations panel, or add your existing references from previous papers. Then once you have your reference, you're going to place your cursor where you want the citation, and you just click Add Citation beneath that reference in the side panel. That's all there is to it. Now you can keep on writing and creating references and citations successfully. Now, there are some other things that you can do inside the body of a paper that I want to quickly point out to you. The first of these is text and heading styles. Just like in the previous PERRL for Word application, you can add your own text and heading styles to your paper to create a little bit of organization. So let's say I have a heading 1 here. I can just add that in my paper, highlight it, and then from the text and heading styles, I'll choose heading 1. This is going to automatically format our heading for us. And you can see that right here. I could do the same thing for headings 2, 3, 4, and 5, and just add those headings into my paper. Additionally, we also have some places for block quote, creating something in the reference format, or something for a references annotation, and the basic default paragraph. So that's text and heading styles. We also have panels for inserting a figure and inserting a table. The way that these work is sort of like a citation. I'll place my cursor where I want to insert the figure or table into my paper, and then I'm going to put in some information. So test title, we're going to have 5 columns and 7 rows. You know what? Let's include notes in our table. I've got my cursor where I want the table to appear, so I'm going to click Insert Table. And now I'm going to have a default APA table right there inside my paper. One thing we need to do though is we need to follow the instructions to get a proper table or figure number. So it says right click and select Update Field. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose Update Field, and that's going to number my table correctly. That's all there is to it. The same goes true for inserting a figure, except instead of talking about the number of rows and columns, you're just going to choose a file that you want to use as the image. Now, there are some additional paper sections that are pretty cool that we can talk about. You have the title page, is the first one right here in the Ribbon tab, and that's going to allow you to edit your title page. So any of these elements that are inside of content controls. Now, one thing that's also really cool is if you need to add or change where these things are in your title page, you can actually come here. I'm going to place my cursor here, press the right arrow key to get it out of the content control, and press enter. Now I can add my own custom information in here, and it's going to be just fine. Because these are in individual content controls, I can take and I can update these all, and it's not going to interfere with PERRL's ability to keep the title page in check and update the proper information. Change that back to Serena Sparkles. She's very particular about her name. That's the title page. So you can customize it all you want as long as you're working around these content controls. The next thing up is abstract. Just like before, PERRL can add an abstract between the title page and the body of the paper. All we're going to do is we're going to click Add an Abstract. As you can see, PERRL has added a perfect abstract page where we can type our abstract or we can add some keywords. It's really as simple as can be. We also have the ability to add a table of contents, and this would come after the abstract directly before the first page of our body. I'm going to choose Add Table of Contents, and there it is. PERRL has generated our table of contents page for us. To build our table of contents, we're just going to follow the instructions on the page by right-clicking and choosing Update Field. This is going to build our table of contents using all of the headings that we've included in our paper through PERRL. All right, next up and last, and this is new from the legacy application, is the ability to add an appendix to our paper, and we're really excited about this one. If you need an appendix, before you had to do some manual finagling to get it into your paper, well, now it's as simply as clicking a button. I'm going to click Add an Appendix, and PERRL is going to add an appendix at the end of our document after the reference section, where I can add a title for the appendix and I can start typing. Well, if I need another one, I'm just going to click Add an Appendix again. And now it's going to add a second appendix that's titled Appendix A, and it's going to go back and adjust this to Appendix B and go back and adjust this to Appendix A. I can add as many appendices as I need, and if I ever rearrange them or I remove them, I can always refresh the appendix names to make sure that they are properly ordered A, B, C, D, and so forth by clicking Refresh Appendix Names right here. So those are some of the new tools that are available inside the add-in that make writing an APA or MLA paper super simple and straightforward. And some of these are things that were never possible inside the legacy PERRL for Word application. So let's talk about the last step, which is preparing our paper to turn in to our professor. Now, most professors have no problem with the content controls inside the body of a paper. They're just happy that your APA formatting is beautifully done and they don't have to pull out the red pen. However, if you have a professor that doesn't want to see those content controls, we've added the new paper review panel inside the PERRL for Word add-in. This is going to allow you to check your paper to make sure that you're not falling into any of the common mistakes that we've seen students make over the years, such as reviewing your references for missing typos or information, making sure all your references have a citation. And as you can see, we actually only cited a couple of our references. So this is red because we've got a citation. We're missing a citation for some of our references, or that we have a single versus a double space after a period, that our table and figure number is correct. And this last one here is the really cool one where we can create a clean version of our paper without content controls to turn into our professor. So if we want to create this paper and we don't want it to have any of the content controls, just plain text, we're going to click this button, Create a Clean Copy. It's going to take and make a new version of the paper that has all of the exact same formatting and the exact same content. Nothing changes in it except all of the content controls that were in our previous version of the paper are missing. So you can see these citations are just plain text. Now I can save this version of the paper and submit it to my professor without him or her ever knowing that I used PERRL to get everything correct. One of the things that's really great about the new add-in is that all of your Word files are just that. They're normal Microsoft Word documents. That means you can save them, copy them, print them, share them, upload them, do whatever you want, just like you would with a normal Word document. You don't have to use a separate PERRL application to open those files or to keep them organized. You can keep them organized yourself, however you like, wherever you like. So now that I'm done with this paper, let's make sure we have a copy, and I want to save it to my desktop. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Word, and I'm going to choose File, Save As. So I can choose where I want to save a copy. And we're going to save this one to our desktop. We'll call it Sasquatch, The Truth Revealed. Save. Here you can see it on my desktop as a normal Word document because it is a normal Word document. So I can close out of this, and if I need to go back to working on that paper, instead of having to launch PERRL and open it from there, remember PERRL has no desktop application in the add-in. It lives completely inside of Word. So I'm just going to come over to this paper on my desktop, double click it, and open it. Now I can come back to the PERRL Ribbon tab and pick up right where I left off. It makes it super simple, and you can save and organize your papers however you like. All right, that's the basics of using the PERRL for Word add-in. Like I mentioned earlier on in this video, we have got an amazing support team that is here to help, and we want to make sure that you're going to be able to succeed while using the new add-in. So we've got a help center at perrl.com/help that's got a number of great articles that are going to be able to help you through every step of this process. But we also have a fantastic customer support team that wants to make sure you succeed. We work every day until 10 p.m. Central Time. You can reach out to us through the application, through the add-in, or you can email us directly at support@perrl.com. We know that transitioning from the legacy application to the add-in can be a pretty intimidating process, but we're here and we're committed to making sure that you have a successful transition and that you're writing perfect APA and MLA papers with the add-in. So thank you so much for using PERRL. Thanks for sticking with us, and if there's anything that we can do, please don't hesitate to reach out.